I'm Emily Hingle.
And I'm Lindsay Powell, and the focus of our study today is the Grammatical Language Intervention for children with specific language impairment, also known as SLI.
So children with SLI are known for having an impairment with morphosyntax. This is seen when they're having conversations with their peers in naturalistic environments and they're unable to use the verb tense usage properly, or past tense ed, third person singular, grammatical morphemes, and other areas of morphosyntax. So we as SLPs and teachers in classrooms need to understand what the most effective means are to treat these individuals in this area of grammar.
The article I focused on was titled Effective Intervention for Expressive Grammar in Children with Specific Language Impairment, and it was a randomized controlled study, and it evaluated how the use of an individualized school-based program used for intervention for children with expressive grammar can affect a 5-year-old child with specific language impairment. Of this study, it was from a language development center, and there were 45 participants that qualified for the study based on the idea that they had a primary diagnosis of SLI. Of these 45 participants, 5 were deemed ineligible due to the idea that they had a diagnosis other than SLI, which leaves 40 participants. Of the 40, 6 of them were taken out of the data due to missing one of the trials, leaving 36 participants. Of the 36, 19 were part of what they called an experimental group, and then 15 were part of a control group. Of the experimental group, which was the 19 participants, 53% showed a successful treatment profile, and then from the control group, 15 of those 15 people, 20% showed significant improvements between tests 2 and 3. With these percentages and with these improvements, it is proved that small group treatment, including direct teaching, modeling, opportunities for production, and specific feedback pertaining to the child's errors, proved that effective in improving grammar targets for children with SLI in a individualized school-based setting.
So a question that we have is, so what if the children with SLI are put into 2 groups, and some of them, and they all receive the same intervention, the same grammatical language intervention that is individualized, but when they produce an error, the feedback, if that's differentiated, what happens? Do they still show effectiveness after treatment? Are they able to produce grammar correctly? And so Karen Smith-Locke, the same author as the article that Lindsay was talking about, she did another experiment 2 years later on children with SLI. She chose 31 children to participate in her experiment, and their qualifications were to have the primary diagnosis of SLI, and they also had to fail the test of early grammatical improvement and have an average score on the nonverbal language test in order to participate in this experiment. This was a randomized control experiment, and the purpose of it was to determine the effectiveness of 2 grammar treatment procedures for children with SLI. And that is the title of the article. So this article also focused on the fact that they trained their SLPs and their teachers directly, and they gave them scripts prior to providing intervention to these 2 groups of children. The 2 groups of children were the recast group, and then a group called the queuing or hierarchy group. And the recast group had 17 children, and the queuing group had 14 children in their group. And the recast group, when they produced an error, a grammatical error, the clinician or the teacher would respond with a recast, but not provide an opportunity for the student to correct his or her mistake and reproduce it. Now, for the hierarchy group, the 14 children that were in that group were actually given an opportunity to produce the correct target after producing it incorrectly. And this was, there was a hierarchy that they had of scaffolding, and we're going to show you that in just a minute. So the results of this experiment were that 50% of the cueing group and only 14% of the recasting group showed significant changes in expressive grammar. This proves that when the children are given direct feedback on their errors and an opportunity to reproduce the error in the correct manner, they show more improvement in expressive grammar. So now we're going to show you a way to implement this in the classroom or the clinic setting. This is based off of the effectiveness of 2 grammar treatment procedures for children with SLI by Karen Smith-Locke. And so I'm the SLP, and this is the client. She's 5 years old and she has SLI. And so all you really need for this little small group setting that we're in is a simple material such as this bunny, something that the children are interested in, and we're going to be working on possessive S. That is our goal for today. So we're in a small group setting, and I, the SLP, will gather them in a circle and follow a script such as this. First, I'm going to ask the child whose ears these are. I'm trying to figure out if this child can use the possessive S correctly. And you'll notice when I correct her incorrect productions, I'm going to use a recast and a cueing hierarchy for feedback. And you'll notice the first one I'll do is recast. And I want you to notice that I'm not going to give her an opportunity to actually produce her error correctly. So, whose ears are these?
Bunny ear.
Notice she said bunny ear. So all I'm going to say is I'm going to correct her, and I'm going to say, no, it's bunny's ear. Done. And where I'm not going to give her an opportunity to correct herself, I'll move on to the next child or the next part of the small group. This was noticed in the experiment by Karen Smith-Locke to not be effective for children with SLI. Instead, the cueing hierarchy is effective. I'm going to show you that one right now. Whose ears are these?
The bunny ear.
Produced incorrectly. So I'm going to question her. Huh?
The bunny ear.
Notice she produced it incorrectly again. So now I'm going to ask her. I'm going to repeat what she said. The bunny ear?
The bunny ear.
Now I'm going to give her 2 options, the correct and the incorrect to choose from. The bunny ear or the bunny's ear?
The bunny ear.
Notice she keeps producing it incorrectly, so I'm at the final stage of hierarchy. No, this is the bunny's ear. Say bunny's ear.
Bunny's ear.
Notice I gave her a "mand" at the end of that. So I had her produce the correct production, and then I'm going to move on from here and teach the small group about the possessive S and give them each an opportunity after my instruction to use it correctly.
Okay, so now we're going to demonstrate what it looks like to target the past tense ED in an individualized school-based setting for children with SLI. So I'm the speech language pathologist, and this is my student. I'm showing her this picture, and you can use Play-Doh, you can use something that the students are interested in, you could use a tangible object like a stuffed animal. It's just whatever you think that the child or children would best respond to. Did he kick the ball?
Yes.
Okay, you tell me that. What did the boy do yesterday?
The boy kick the ball.
What did he do?
The boy kick the ball.
The boy kicked the ball.
The boy kick the ball.
Try this. The boy kicked the ball. You say that.
The boy kicked the ball.
Great job. So we went through the hierarchy of a recast to show her that she was saying kick, and I was targeting for her to say the past tense ED kicked. And so by the end of it, I present her a mand and just tell her to repeat after me, telling her that I'm producing the correct sound and that's what I want you to say as well.